Cache-maniacs.
Geo Gearheads.
Welcome to Geo Gearheads. This is episode 440, and tonight we're talking about cache notes. I am your co-host, Chris of the Northwest, along with your host. That's, I guess, what you would call it, or the post-host, the pre-host. One of those, Carol W4.
How about the pre-ghost host?
The pre-ghost host.
I assume that's kind of where you were trying to go.
Not really. I was thinking, what's the opposite of co?
Oh, see, with the host, and I thought you were trying to go for the ghost host thing.
No, but a ghost host sounds like we're on the Haunted Mansion ride.
Precisely, which is I thought where you were trying to go. Oh well, but yeah, the topic tonight is going to be the cache notes, and what we're talking about is the notes about geocaches, both the ones that you're creating or the ones that you're finding. Maybe it's the stuff that you're solving. So that's what we're talking about tonight. And we'd love to get your feedback in the live chat, or if you're listening after the fact, send us an email at geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com with your thoughts on any of the stuff that we mention, or about any of the tools that we don't mention that you like to use. Because, man, there is a ton of stuff out there that works really, really well. So we've got a good list to go through tonight. That's going to be probably a little bit more time than what we wanted to actually do in a single show. But we'll talk about some of these that we like, some that we don't even know anything about. So, we can definitely use your feedback on all of this stuff. Before we get to that, however, there's a new promo.
What's that?
Well,
I can't remember what the new promo is, Cheryl.
Okay. I think you need your meds. We've actually, I think, mentioned it before because this has been kind of a long time coming. But the memory lane promo has actually begun. It got edited, shall we say, by COVID or for COVID. So it's it's running from now, is actually started at the beginning of June through January 3rd. So you'll have all of that time to get any of these 5 souvenirs that you want. And it's going to be pretty easy. The first one is at 10 points. So that's the first geocache hidden souvenir. At 50 points, you get the first geocoin souvenir. 100 points, you get the first mega event souvenir. Then at 150 points, the first million geocaches hidden souvenir. That one kind of took me by surprise.
Mm-hmm.
That's not one I thought that they were going to memorialize like that. And then the 20 years of geocaching at 200 points.
So I think it's interesting, the levels broken out. I do have to point out, Limax says it's another chance to win no fabulous prizes.
Oh, absolutely.
Unless you consider souvenirs fabulous.
Well, the nice thing about the souvenirs is you'll qualify for some extra challenge caches.
Right. So, okay. So I see the first 3 levels there, the first 3 souvenirs, the first geocache hidden. Okay, you could have done that, right? As an individual. First geocoin. Yeah, an individual. You remember the first geocoin you got.
Mm-hmm.
An individual, the first mega event you went to. Sure, you remember that. And then the first million geocaches hidden. That doesn't apply to a individual.
No, well, and these are
like GSM times 2.
But these aren't really designed for individuals. It's designed for the community. But I do like those first 3 because it is something that you can very easily relate to personally. What was my first geocache? What was my first geocoin? What was my first mega event? Gary Robinson says that there's a problem with memory lane that Adventure Labs are not counting yet. So that's an interesting glitch that I had not heard about.
Maybe
so
they forgot them.
Yeah, they just forgot. But the points is 5 points for found log, 5 points for an adventure lab cache find,
But not yet.
but not yet apparently. A multi or a mystery found log is worth 7 points. A geocache with 10 or more favorite points gets 10 points, but you have a maximum of 10 points for any find, so you can't stack those. It's whichever one gets the most. But the thing that I just thought of, it's a found log, so I guess that would mean it's probably only for traditionals and earth caches, probably, because the mysteries and multis get 7 points, but I don't think events count at all. I just thought about that.
Well, I think an event is considered a found log.
That's an attended log. So I don't know. Does anyone in the research department happen to know that? Because that is an interesting thing that I had not considered. Because originally I was thinking it's going to be the event caches, because that's just, you hit the community celebration events, and you want that to count.
Right. So would a webcam cache count? It's not a found log, is it?
That is a found log, yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Another note though is it's hashtag GC memory lane if you want to post anything with hashtag, and if you go to the page, it actually is highlighting at least the Twitter and Instagram posts. I didn't see anything from Facebook, but I imagine they're doing Facebook. Oh, On a Boat says that's a webcam photo taken log. So
I thought it was different. Yeah. So
it might not count.
If it counts or not, that would be interesting. I consider it a find, but yeah. So events. I'm trying to go through the list of different cache types in my head, and you know what? That's not working.
Let's see.
So let me jump over here to my stats, which I should have had open, but I didn't. Thank you for listening while I'm going through this.
We have Limax talking to On a Boat that he saw an event cache on his GPS today, but I haven't updated it in months. I've actually run into that same kind of problem where I put stuff on my calendar. So yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Let's actually go into our. You got it?
Yeah. Most of them will work that way. Of course, all the events. So the Where I Go cache, I think, is found. Letterbox Hybrid is found. Earth cache is found. Virtual cache is found. So
okay, I forgot about the Letterbox Hybrid, but yeah, that should be a found. So should the Where I Go. Though I'm kind of surprised they don't count Where I Goes and even the Letterbox as 7 points. Because they're trying to give you a couple of extra points for those more involved caches. All right, let's move into our actual conversation for tonight, which is the ways that we're keeping track of notes on caches. And of course, we've got to start off with a personal cache note on geocaching.com because, well, it's free. It's tied to that cache through the website and through the caching apps that use the live API. So that's probably the one that most people are going to use for their notes. It's just text, which is kind of a problem. It's not a huge problem, but it depends on what you're trying to do with it. And the nice thing is you do have a whole bunch of those apps, especially like GSAC, which look into those cache notes, the personal cache notes, to do other things like, get your logs and that kind of stuff.
Well, and it will sync between your mobile device and the web. Right. So if you enter something,
I don't think it actually syncs technically. You can get them because it's stored live. Yeah. And it does work with most of the caching apps where you can place those personal cache notes in an offline mode and then sync it up to the website later. But it's always stored on the website. So the website is the constant source of truth.
Right. So if you're working on a puzzle cache that requires a bunch of web research and you're doing it from your computer, you can put all that research that you've done into the cache notes and then pull it up on your phone when you're out in the field.
Yeah. And I do a lot of my challenge caches that way, where I'll go and grab the approval, or not the approval, the validation text that I get from Project GC into the notes. That way I can just go over there, copy it while I'm in Cachely, paste it into my log, and I'm done. So I pre-populate any of those that I want to find that way. I also have done it for the field puzzles, even for some of the puzzles that aren't field stuff, but it gives me a good way to attach it to that puzzle, put in the corrected chords, and I'm good to go.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always there with that cache. I don't have to worry about it. The problem is I've used a bunch of different things, so not all of my solutions are there.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, have you used anything like Google Docs or Sheets?
Yeah, Google Docs and Sheets, I typically don't use for puzzle solves and that kind of stuff. That's more for when I've done some planning with other people, because it is collaborative. It's entirely free. You can get some bonus stuff if you're paid. And it's available with the Android or iOS or web. So virtually anywhere I want to be, I can do it. And it does do offline in Chrome. So you can take it on your Chromebook, your Windows or Mac PC. Offline, and you have offline where you don't need it.
Where you
don't need the data. And it works offline on the Android and iOS apps. That's a very important feature you don't get with personal cache notes.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I've used it recently. I had issues occasionally with earlier versions of the syncing. So I'm always a little skittish using that, to be honest. Once bitten.
Yes, exactly. I love Google Docs. I mean, it's what we use to put this show together. And,
yep.
I use it at work as well. And they're bulletproof, really.
Yeah, we use Google Docs and Sheets for so much. It's scary. And we've talked about using both those products before, including Google Sheets for some trip planning.
Mm-hmm.
Houston, Texas Dave says a good spiral notebook works as well.
Well, yes. Yep.
But it's collaborative if you pass it to someone.
That's true. There's no backup.
There's no backup.
However, you can use it wherever you are, and it's totally offline.
Absolutely. All right. Next one we want to mention, though, is another Google product, which is Google Keep. And this is more like a notebook.
Mm-hmm. And I really tried to use this for a while. I thought, this is a great product. I want to use it. I put effort into it, and, it didn't do it for me.
Yeah, it just wasn't for me. But again, it's free.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the Android and iOS apps. Plus, of course, it works on the web. So it is a good option if this is the kind of thing that you like to work in. But it didn't do it for me. Mm-mm. It is a lot nicer going back and look at it. When I went back and looked for the show, and I kind of almost want to give it a try again, but I'm sold on another product that we'll talk about later in the show. So they've lost me for now.
Yeah.
But it's definitely one I think that you should look at.
You definitely should. I mean, it's kind of like sticky notes and other things. I mean, it's your simple database style, flat database. I open up a page, I put whatever I want in it. I go open another page, put whatever I want in it. So
and I think Google Keep is better than is a lot of the other note stuff out there. But it's just still a little too heavy or too light depending on what I want. Because there's sometimes where you just want something that's really streamlined and really light.
Right.
But it's not that light. It takes a little too much to get in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other times where you want a lot more and it doesn't do enough of that stuff either. So it falls into that sweet spot of not being useful to me.
Wait a minute. That's like a negative sweet spot. It's like
Exactly. But for some people, this might hit that sweet spot that this is exactly what they want.
Exactly.
So don't rule it out, because it does have its good points. Just for myself and for you, Chris, it doesn't work for our needs at all.
It didn't work for what we were looking for. However, go give it a shot. It's free. You've probably got a little extra time right now. Go take a look at it. See if it's what you want.
Yeah. And again, it does support collaboration, which is one of the important things that I do look for. And we're going to jump to Dropbox, because this is one that comes up a lot. We're both Dropbox users. We have a bunch of stuff in Dropbox for the show. However, they've made some changes to the product that you might want to look at it again. If you like them, great. If you don't like them, kind of join the club. The basic plan is only 2 gigabytes now. So if you want the free plan, you're only going to have 2 gigs. That's it. The plus is 2 terabytes, and that's $12 a month. And they do have some discounting if you pay annually. It is available on just about everything. They've got the Android, the iOS, the Mac OS, the Linux, the web, and Windows kits, plus APIs for all sorts of stuff.
Exactly. That's really one of the strong points there, Daryl. We talk about Cachly. It can go read from Dropbox to get GPX files and share them back.
There's a lot of stuff that will do the two-way syncing with Dropbox, especially in the earlier days. Dropbox was the thing to do.
Mm-hmm. It will do photo syncing on your phone.
Yep. Yeah. So it's a great tool for all kinds of stuff. And they've added a bunch of tools for office style editing. Mm-hmm. So all of this stuff is now built in. So it is now more than ever a tool that you can actually use for the notes.
Right.
And you can do anything you want in there.
This is not your grandfather's Dropbox anymore.
No. Now, the problems that I've run into is I do not like the new interface. It doesn't use your native file system as much as it used to. Yeah, so that kind of drives me insane. And I don't really like some of the changes in syncing. I'm having more and more problems syncing across computers. So I'm actively, especially because of the current cost, and I don't even come close to using that much space in it, I'm actively moving away from Dropbox.
Interesting.
What are your thoughts on Dropbox before we move on?
What do I say about Dropbox? I don't use it as much as I used to. Yes, for files, it's fantastic. But do I use any of the other features? No, because I use the other products that we're going to mention here as we go.
Or have already mentioned.
Or have already mentioned that I'm more familiar with and I feel does a better job. Now, Dropbox, if you're just starting out, yeah, that's going to get you almost everything you need for, storage and word processing. They're trying to compete with Microsoft Office
and with Google.
So it's interesting, but I don't know if it's there yet. In a few years, we may be saying, why isn't everybody using Dropbox? Get rid of Office and get rid of Google. But I don't think it's there yet.
I don't think so, because for one, it's a paid product, whereas for most people, Google apps are free. But I am using more and more often the Google Drive, and they have a tool for your desktop called Google Drive Stream to do the same kind of stuff that I had been doing with Dropbox previously. So that I've already got, and I don't have to pay extra. It doesn't give me as much flexibility yet.
Right.
But again, I think that's going to change. and I'm not sure that I want that extra flexibility anymore. The world has changed that I'm not sure Dropbox fits in my life anymore. Next one is another product that definitely does not fit.
Okay.
Which project is that doesn't fit for us anymore?
Well, that would be Evernote. There was a time Evernote was it. Evernote was the creme de la creme of note.
Well, we did shows on Evernote because it was the bomb. It was the best thing out there. It had all kinds of cool features, including the ability to geotag the notes. That is not worth all of the extra weight that they added to it, which is why I stopped using it. And Limax is also still looking to find a better solution to replace Evernote.
You know what? Go try Keep. It's going to do some photos. Does it geotag photos? I believe it does. Nope, Evernote.
Houston, Texas, Dave, and Limax, Evernote.
Yeah, it was fantastic at one time.
It was the go-to. Everyone was doing stuff with it.
And, I have to give it to them. They moved in a direction. They tried something. It didn't fit with us. I know people who still have corporate accounts for it and use it to be able to share, just kind of stream of consciousness type notes. I think is what they use it for. And group chat type things. But
interesting.
I don't know anymore. But they took a bold move and they tried something. It didn't work for us. That doesn't mean it didn't work for everyone.
Well, and the basic plan is 25 megs per note and only 2 devices. So you really can't use the basic plan if you want to use any kind of multi-device strategy. Because 2 devices still counts like on the same machine for me.
Yeah, well, computer and phone, and you're done.
Right, and I can't use the web, which is silly. Now, I think they might have fixed that problem, but I ran into that, and that stung. But there's a premium version that's $8 a month for 200 megabytes, and gives you the unlimited. So if you're going to get into Evernote, try it with the basic plan, see if that works for you, and then you're probably going to have to upgrade to that $8 a month. They have the Android, iOS, Mac, Windows, and of course the web. But you can't use offline, and you can't sync with multiple or more than 2 devices. In the basic plan, you have to go up to the...
Well, even the $8 plan, you can share with others, but there's no team collaboration. So that's you got to go up to the corporate plan or the Evernote Business, which is $50 a month per user. Yeah,
so that's one that we got into a long time ago, and we're now, for years, looking for good replacements. And I think I found one, but we'll talk about that later.
Wait a minute. Daryl, you can't drop a bombshell like that and just move on.
I can, because I'm going to go to Simplenote. Because Simplenote was specifically designed to fit that hole that Evernote created when they became so bloated. And this
became Evernote.
Yeah. This really looks nice. And I'm sorry to say that I haven't had a chance to play with it because I found something else I like a lot, and I'm not going to switch. Not unless something else goes wrong and I see something that's better. This is a little too simple. It's a basic note tool. It's free. It has Android, iOS, Mac OS, Linux, and Windows apps. No web that I found. Now, it might be there, but I didn't see anything about a web interface.
Interesting.
And I think this might be how they get the free to work. It's just syncing your apps. It's just a sync service that they're running in the background. They're not doing all the web stuff. So, might be a little lighter and a little cheaper.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like the concept of it. I like the screenshots. I haven't actually used it. And I assume you haven't used this one either.
No,
But yeah, it's a very promising looking tool. All right. Shall we move on to OneNote?
OneNote.
And this one you've actually used.
This one I use on a daily basis.
See, and I just can't get behind this one either.
Well, I need it for work.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot about OneNote here in the last couple of months. It's a fabulous tool. It really is. OneNote is part of Microsoft 365 now.
Yep.
Used to be Office 365. Now it's Microsoft 365. And you don't pay any more for the relabeling. Thank you, Microsoft. But
and you do have to have the subscription service to make OneNote work, as I understand.
Yes. There is do we still call them apps on the computer? I think that's what I'm beginning to call them now.
Yeah, well, they've been pushing for that with Windows 10 anyway.
Yeah. So it's got a PC app as well as web, as well as the phones. And as well.
Does it have a web portal too?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it does. It's part of it's part of Microsoft 365.
Right. So, I find that the app version, the downloaded program on the computer is far more powerful than the web version, but you can still get by with everything you need. It's completely collaborative, much like Google Docs, where two people can be typing at the same time and you see what they're typing. Sharing and organization is very good with OneNote. So, meaning that you can create, I'm trying to think, you create notebooks and tabs and pages. I had to think of the nomenclature there.
Limax says that his girlfriend uses OneNote on a daily basis for teaching, and Kunibud says that many teachers use OneNote.
Yep.
And Limax says she also learned to use MS Teams for distance teaching.
So I almost jumped into Teams for this because the same file sharing and organization that is in Teams is OneNote. So OneNote and Teams share some of that
infrastructure
together, and it's really quite interesting.
Yeah, and a lot of people, especially the people who are Microsoft aficionados, love this because it does tie in so well. Mm-hmm. So if you're an Office now Microsoft 365 fan, you're going to love this one. It's probably the best one for you.
And yeah, it's very good, very powerful. It's going to do everything you need, and because it's Microsoft, it's going to do more than you could ever hope to understand about it.
Well, and when I played with it years ago, it wasn't as good as Keep. But I get the impression that it has come so far beyond what Keep can do in like the last several years. Like 2 years ago, it probably beat Keep. And Keep has gotten better than when I played with it as well. So, yeah. Check all of these ones out. Nothing, and this is the big thing that why we're going through each of these. Nothing is going to be right for everyone.
Right.
The way you work, what you want to do is going to make a big difference. And that's why we want to go through each of these and talk about them. And the next one we'll talk about is the one I've been teasing kind of the whole show, which is Notion. Notion.so. This one is a tool that my boss actually brought to me as a project management solution for us, because it is not a project management tool. It does so many things in so many ways, and it is really designed as an Evernote replacement in a different way. So it's a very different type of tool, and I actually imported all of my Evernote stuff that I care about into here, and I'm slowly and surely trying to get through it.
Daryl, you use the word import.
Yes.
Was it true import or copy and paste?
No, it's import. There is a import feature. You tell it which notebooks you want to grab from Evernote, and it will go out and do it. You have to give it the API access or whatever, log in, and it grabs it. It sucks it in and converts it.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. So, and it has a few other services, I think, that you do that. Oh, interesting. Limax says he uses Notion on his iPad for writing music. Definitely different than. Yes, I think there is a Notion iPad app that does the music stuff.
I've got a Notion.
Yeah, interesting. But this is Notion.so. So
Notion.
This is available with an Android, iOS, Mac, and Windows app, but it's primarily a web page. It is that Notion.so. Even when you're in the apps, I don't think they're actually using Electron, but it's something like that. It's where the app is essentially a wrapper for the web page. But it is sharing some code, but not totally different code. So
interesting.
It's not as robust as I would like, to be honest, for offline stuff. I don't think it actually does offline in the current form because I've never really tried it. And I'm quite frankly a little afraid to try it. But it does all kinds of cool stuff.
How new is Notion?
I want to say it's within the last year or so.
Okay.
And this is the second version of Notion. When they created the first version of Notion, it fell on its face. They completely overhauled it, and now it's going like gangbusters. They are just growing like crazy. It's impressive to see what they've done. And they redid the model. It used to be designed really exclusively for business and teams. Now it's gone toward the personal user a little bit with especially a better business model for us. It has a personal mode that is 5 guests, but only 5 megs of uploads, and that's free. So anyone can sign up for an account now. You can share to other people, and that's totally free, but you can only have 5 guests on any given sheet, any given page, whatever. And it does have some weird organizational stuff with pages that, act as containers for other pages. And it has a weird block system, which I find very, very useful, but does take a little bit to wrap your head around.
Okay.
But we're actually using that for the show to do show planning, not the actual show notes. That kind of stuff's still better in Drive,
right?
But you can also embed Drive pages into your note. So it does a bunch of cool stuff like that where it becomes your portal to get to everything else. And it does some of your database stuff. You can do different views. So I have like project views and calendar views for the shows. So we can see when the shows are scheduled and click through to those. And we can see them in the project list of, the board view where you get to see, these are the ones we're working on as concepts. Here's the ones that are ready to go. Here's the ones that are scheduled. Here's the ones that are, all of these various modes, like a Trello board for people who are familiar with that.
Okay.
So very, very handy. We use that for this show for some planning. We use it more extensively for our personal show, the R&DW Adventures.
I'm sorry. What was that again, Daryl?
Sorry, I had to cough. R&DW Adventures. And that one, I actually use it more than I do for this show all the way around, because it starts off as, here's our concept. We start flushing it out. Okay, now it's ready for shoot. Take it in, we have all of our notes in there for what we need to shoot, some script notes, that kind of stuff. We go and shoot it. Then we move it to edit. Then it's in review. As we get it uploaded, and we always check everything on YouTube. I've had a few that we have to delete and repost for whatever reason, compression issues, color issues.
Interesting.
The
occasional cough.
I've got some like lint in my throat. Oh, too much breathing with masks on. But in any case,
you're not supposed to breathe in the mask.
Yeah, and I keep doing that. In any case, it does things like assigns tasks to users. You can say who's, the responsible party for this task. You can do who's the writer, who's the editor, who's the camera person. All of that stuff can end up in fields on this thing, and you can control it for that board however you want to do it. So I have my geocaching notes that I moved over there. And I have two different sets of pages, one for hides, one for finds. So all of my puzzle solves, all my virtual caches end up in the one. GC number is a field, that kind of stuff. The one thing that I'm missing to make that work right is the location. It doesn't have a location field.
Interesting.
Meanwhile, look out, Lisa's hijacking JD's feed.
Uh-oh.
She's eating his dinner. That can get dangerous.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me.
All right. So I've kind of ranted on about how much I like this product. Have you actually had a chance to dig into it at all?
I've played with it just a couple of times. You said, oh, go do this. Okay. And it's like, yeah, that works. I haven't invested into it.
It didn't take me long to really get into it, to be honest. And part of it is I've been looking for so long to find something that replaces Evernote.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally found something I like. One of the things that is going to be the make or break to you is whether you like that block system. Because the block is your line of text. It could be your links, it could be whatever. And it's really easy to grab those and drag those around. It doesn't work like text in a notebook or in a notepad. So for some people, that's really, really, really tough.
Right.
Okay, let's sidetrack for a minute here and look out. Lisa on JD's dinner is asking about Trello and Airtable. I actually have used both.
Okay.
Trello drives me insane. I hate the product. It's one of those that just does not work for me. Yeah, you do what it tells you to do and stuff doesn't work. So I never got to like Trello. I know people who swear by Trello. But for me, Trello just is annoying. Airtable is a database which I'm actually using for some other projects.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty cool. Very lightweight. However, as a database, I think it's a little too lightweight for how much they charge for it. Now, I believe there is a free version of it, but this is the kind of stuff that a database is a little too structured, I think, for what most people would want for notes. That said, if you're doing something like organizing an event,
mm-hmm.
This is going to be a great way to do that. Okay. If you're trying to put out a series of caches, it's a great way for people to get in there and do it, and then export a list that you can then publish. And he or she, I don't know if it is JD or Lookout Lisa, says they don't use either. Just curious about our thoughts. So there's our thoughts. And again, both are good products. Check them out. Do you have thoughts on either one? I think you said you didn't use them.
I've not touched either one.
Yeah. And, there are some other products out there. Mm-hmm. And Trello right now is one of those products everyone is trying to hit. Mm-hmm. Everyone's trying to kill Trello. So you're going to find a lot of places that are doing the same kind of thing. And even Airtable has that board view now to make it look and work more like Trello.
Oh, interesting. So Trello is the one to beat, huh?
Trello is well been beaten. A lot of these things are doing so much more and so much better than Trello is. But Trello is the 800-pound gorilla. They've been there forever. It's kind of like Evernote was before they killed themselves.
Right.
And I think that's part of why we haven't seen much in Trello's camp for changing and investing back into the product.
Why change?
They're afraid if they make major changes, they're going to Evernote the product.
Oh, has that become a verb now?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We actually use that as a verb several times.
Oh, you
several times a month. What's that?
Jumping the shark.
Yeah. Apple Notes.
Now, Apple Notes is something I use.
Yes. And we used to use this for some of the show prep too, and it just didn't really work.
Well, and it was one of the things that I forgot. It is multi-user and shareable because I think of it as just the notes on my phone.
Yeah. But the one of the issues you really can't. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
One of the problems is you can share a note. You can't share a whole like notebook. I think it's folders that they call them in the Apple Notes. But this is really lightweight. It works really remarkably well. And that wasn't always the case. But it's iOS, Mac, built into both of those. You kind of can't even get rid of it. And web. It has a web version on iCloud, and it's free. It's local or offline. And you can even take those notes and sync them with like Google if you don't want to use iCloud.
Right.
So,
now, of course, only iOS.
No, you can do it on Mac.
Well, you're sorry.
Yeah,
you're right.
Apple. Yeah. So there is no Android. There is no Windows app. But if you're in the Apple ecosystem, I used to use this quite a bit until I got into Notion, just because I could use these notes on my Mac, on the phone. If I needed to, I could go to iCloud.com and do it on the web. But it is a nice, lightweight tool, and it does work better than most of the others. And the nice thing is with the newer versions, which, it depends on your OS, not, what version of the app you actually have, because it's built in. The newer versions actually support the pencil on the iPads. So you can actually do doodling right in the apps.
Oh, you know what? Keep did that as well.
Yes, I forgot that Keep had done that.
That was one of the reasons I tried it. Yes.
Yeah. Keep. And Limax says he's used Apple Notes for doing the Earth caches. That's kind of how I got started in it, because I was looking for, that lightweight tool to replace Evernote, and this did it for me. So it's the tool that I went to. Keep would have probably been another good solution, but at the time, especially at that time on the iOS app, it just was not fast at all. And again, they've fixed those problems, so it's definitely worth looking at again. All right, last one, because we're running a little long.
Go ahead.
Oh, what were you going to mention, though?
No, I was just going to say we need to
wrap this up.
Wrap it up.
So the last one I want to mention is GoodNotes, because we've talked about it a little bit here and there as a cool app for iOS, and it is only for iOS, except that if you are on Catalina, they do have the universal app that works on Mac as well. It's a pen app exclusively. For people who like to doodle and, take notes the old-fashioned way, it's a great tool. And I use this in like meetings. You can export these to PDFs or any other number of things. Like I think PNGs and JPEGs are supported. You have background templates. So if you wanted to create a PDF and fill it in, it supports that kind of stuff too. So it's a great tool for people who are drawing. And I could see this being helpful. It's got like a grid paper template built in. Draw out your cash plans, do your schematics, do all that kind of stuff with the pen and pencil if that's what you're used to. And then you can export and save into something else or share.
I don't think I've used it, but I've seen it. And no, I may have downloaded it at once to play with it. And I thought, well, it does pretty much what Apple Notes does. So,
Well, this is only really for pen and paper, though. It simulates the pen and paper.
Right.
So it doesn't you can do text, but it doesn't really do the text notes. You can't do the searching so much like you can in the Apple Notes. So it's a very different workflow. And that's, besides the fact we've mentioned it a few times, that's one of the reasons I wanted to put it in here. Because for some people, this is going to be what they want to use. And Limax says it's not that intuitive.
Okay.
He found it hard to use. And G-Nice says that I doodle during meetings. No, actually, it's not for my doodling during the meetings. I generally don't do doodles unless I have to do like a diagram for something. But it gives the impression that you're paying better attention. And I find that I grew up in the 80s before computers were really a thing. And I find that as good as I am at taking notes on the computer, I tend to retain the information better if it's a pen and paper. And this does that for me.
Well, Daryl, there's one product that we haven't mentioned. Have you done the Rocketbook notebooks?
Renee has done the Rocketbook.
So these are very interesting. They are actual pen and paper. It comes with an app, or you download an app that you can scan the page, take a picture of the page. It doesn't have that many pages in it. Mine has 32 pages or something like that. You think, well, that's not very much. Once you've taken a picture of all the pages, you throw the notebook into a microwave for a few seconds, and it erases the ink, and you start over.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, and it reminds me of the digital pen. Do you remember those things?
Mm-hmm.
I actually got 2 of those.
Mm-hmm.
Because I fell in love with those. I was using them all the time, and then they changed the software and it stopped working so well.
Yeah.
But those were really awesome. And I kept hoping there's a way for me to use the audio version of it, or audio portion, because it had headphones with a microphone that you could plug in and talk as you're drawing and create podcasts basically with the doodles popping up. So it sunk the drawing to the audio, and it was designed for people to use in meetings so that they get everything showing up when it should, or for like taking notes in class so that you could record the speaker. The audio just really, really sucked. So it's not something I actually used. And I love the little notebooks and stuff, but my problem, aside from the software changing and not being as good anymore, was I kept running into problems where the battery was dying on me before I actually got a chance to use it. And it's mostly because I would take it and throw it in the car, sits there off for, 3 or 4 days and lost its charge. So, yeah. I don't know that they're still around, and I can't even remember the name of the product. But it was one that I absolutely loved. And I, dropped that one as well.
So anyway, it was an interesting idea. I've played with the Rocketbook as far as, taking your notes.
Yeah, and
QR code and the page, and
definitely one that again, people who are kind of into that physical media definitely need to look at that stuff. All kinds of great tools out there that we didn't talk about it. So let us know what we missed by emailing us at geogearheads@casualmaniacs.com. Or, what did we get wrong or right in talking about any of these that you actually use? Because, people who use these products are going to be a lot better about it than we are.
Yep, exactly.
RG wants to, go ahead.
I was going to say, don't use an Etch-a-Sketch, because that's a one-time, but you take a picture of it with your phone, you're okay. Then you can
exactly. Or people used to put those on copiers.
Yeah, there you go.
But RG says he uses a Light Bright.
I loved Light Bright growing up. We'd buy a pack of construction paper and the black would always be gone.
Yeah. Yeah. No, those were so much fun. And just think about how much brighter your cache finds are going to be with that. The extension cord might be a little bit of a problem.
Well,
but you can always find your way back to the car.
They've got to have LED battery powered ones now.
Well, they do have LED, but I'm not sure about the battery powered. I know someone else had a LED powered one that's like an LED flat panel, but it didn't actually poke through paper. And that was one of their big things, is it was reusable.
Okay.
So it's like a magnet that you use to toggle the covers or something. I don't know.
That would work. Yeah.
I don't actually follow those things, but every so often you'll come across like an ad or something, and you're like, "Ooh, that's really cool." Yeah. But we are much longer than we wanted to be for this kind of show. So hopefully you got some good tips out of this, and definitely let us know. But check the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the Geo Gearheads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com or through social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniacs shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniacs shows. Geo Gearheads is produced by Corinne Soffenauer and Daryl Wanberg. This show is copyright 2020 by Daryl Wanberg. All rights reserved.
Cash with the Cachemaniacs.